Chapter 4:16 Origin Mark. Jian Wushuang sat quietly in a cave in the inner area. The cave was rarely visited and was surrounded by vast amounts of slaughter origin. Slaughter origin rushed into the armlet on his left arm and condensed gradually into a black mark. This black mark had the faint appearance of a flame, but it did not look like a regular one. Origin mark. When the black mark condensed, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes with pleasant surprise. Origin mark would condense only when his comprehension of this origin had reached an extremely high level. When Jian Wushuang had entered inner area half a year ago, he had been a step away from condensing origin mark. As he battled stage 3 experts during the past half year, he had made great progress in all aspects, including his sword principle and origin comprehension. This had finally culminated in his achievement of condensing his first origin mark. Origin mark. Jian Wushuang stared at the origin mark on his arm. Using his will, he directed the origin mark's power into his hand. He waved his hand and a terrible blast swept the cave with a loud roar. What immense power! Jian Wushuang was ecstatic. Origin mark had greatly improved his strength. Jian Wushuang estimated that his strength had trebled. When the origin mark was condensed, my overall strength increased by nearly 3 times. My battle strength now should be equal to that of an expert at the peak of stage 3, Jian Wushuang whispered. Before this moment, he had reached the high level of stage 3 by virtue of double first-grade sword soul, blood river realm, physical strength, and heavenly creation skill. While it was just a single slaughter origin mark, it had strengthened his overall power by 3 times and elevated him to the peak of stage 3. Experts in the inner area have special means or abilities to stay alive, even if their strength is weak. Before I condensed the origin mark, it was already difficult to kill me because I had the assistance of the realm. Now. Jian Wushuang curled his lips into a playful smile. Experts who dared to adventure in the inner area were generally confident of their own strength or their ability to survive. During his half year in the inner area, he had fought many experts from the opposite camp. He had only managed to kill 2 of them, who were ordinary stage 3 experts. While they had skills that would have saved their lives, they had been restrained by his realm and had failed to escape. It had taken a long time for him to kill them. Only 2 experts. He had also suffered several crises. The most dangerous one was a battle with an expert at the peak of stage 3. That man was weaker than Shui Luo, but he was well-rounded with no obvious weaknesses. Under Blood River Realm suppression, he had still been faster than Jian Wushuang. At the beginning of the fight, Jian Wushuang had already sustained serious wounds and had been thoroughly outclassed. Thanks to his blood puppet, he had narrowly resolved the crisis. Now, he was at the peak of stage 3 because of the power of origin energy. With the assistance of his realm, he would be threatened by few experts. In the vast void, a burly purple-haired man, clothed in a black shirt with 2 long spears on his back, slowly marched forward. He cast his eyes warily at the surroundings. The 2 long spears could be connected together. Suddenly, he saw someone rush toward him. The purple-haired man recognized the man. Swordsman. In the past half year, Jian Wushuang had earned a reputation in the inner area. He had fought the purple-haired man before. At that time, the purple-haired man had an absolute advantage, but he had failed to kill Jian Wushuang as the latter had escaped with the help of his realm. Dongming, Jian Wushuang stood in front of the purple-haired man and looked at him. What? I taught you a lesson last time. Do you want me to beat you again? Dongming, the purple-haired man, sneered at Jian Wushuang. I was indeed not strong enough the last time. I've improved my strength since then, so I'll test it on you, Jian Wushuang laughed. Test it on me? Dongming snorted. An intense and horrifying aura began to surge from his body. Ha, let's start. Jian Wushuang laughed and released his blood river realm. This realm again? Dongming's face darkened. He had failed to kill Jian Wushuang the last time because of this realm. Damn, if it weren't for this realm, you would just be a bug in the inner area. You would have been killed countless times, Dongming growled. Really? Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. A freezing sword light penetrated the void and roared toward Dongming. 2 tall sword soul phantoms stood behind Jian Wushuang. They also brandished longswords with torrential sword light. In this slash, Jian Wushuang released his full power of sword soul and physical strength. He also brought his origin mark to its extreme. Dongming did not take Jian Wushuang seriously at first. After all, he had fought Jian Wushuang a few months ago and had outclassed the latter. He did not expect Jian Wushuang to improve much during such a short period. Dongming realized his mistake in underestimating Jian Wushuang when the sword light appeared. This. Eyes widened in surprise. Dongming swung the long spear in his hand and stabbed forward. The movement was similar to a poisonous snake striking out of a hole. Clang! A deep crash sounded. What? Dongming's face darkened. His long spear point had been twisted sideways by the sword light. The sword light continued to sweep toward him with great momentum. Dongming immediately pulled his long spear back and swung it. He narrowly dodged the sword light, but he was blown backward by its power. Peak of Stage 3? Dongming was stunned. Dongming was close to the peak of Stage 3, but he was swept away by Jian Wushuang's slash. It seemed that Jian Wushuang was much stronger than him in battle strength and had truly reached the peak of Stage 3. Chapter 417. Triple Shift. How could it be possible? How could he have made such rapid progress in such a short period of time? Dongming was shocked. He clearly remembered that he had been able to overpower Jian Wushuang a few months ago, though the latter had the help of his realm. How had Jian Wushuang reached the peak of Stage 3 so quickly? How could he become even stronger than me? Dongming was unaware that Jian Wushuang had not yet condensed the origin mark in their last exchange. With the origin mark, Jian Wushuang's battle strength had increased several times and now exceeded his. I'm in big trouble. Having realized the full extent of Jian Wushuang's battle strength, Dongming's face fell. It had only been a minor inconvenience for him to be trapped in the realm when he was stronger than Jian Wushuang. But now that Jian Wushuang's power had grown, the realm became a nightmare. Jian Wushuang rushed forward and brandished his sword to attack Dongming. The latter barely managed to parry the strike. Run! I have to run quickly. With a trace of madness in his eyes, Dongming looked desperately for an opportunity to flee. Dongming, are you expecting to escape from my realm? You must be kidding, Jian Wushuang sneered. Damn! Dongming swore under his breath. Dongming was close to the top of Stage 3 in terms of battle strength and had excellent power, speed, and defensive ability. He would not be afraid to challenge some experts at the peak of Stage 3, who were even stronger than Jian Wushuang. After all, he would still be able to escape if he failed. But Jian Wushuang, his realm was too strong and too unpredictable. Experts in the inner area had already made judgments on Jian Wushuang's realm. Someone much stronger than Jian Wushuang could outclass or compete with him even when trapped in his realm. Otherwise, he would need special skills to survive. For example, Wind Demon could easily escape from Jian Wushuang's realm with his extraordinary speed. These were the two types of people who could calmly face Jian Wushuang's realm. Others were doomed to die in Jian Wushuang's hands. Dongming was far weaker than Jian Wushuang and he had no special abilities. His death loomed large before him. No, no. Dongming's face was distorted with fury and panic. His continual attempts to flee were thwarted by Jian Wushuang. Dongming grew desperate. He could not escape. He was completely crushed by Jian Wushuang. As the attacks continued to rain on him, he grew too exhausted to resist. The only thing waiting for him was death. I won't accept it. Dongming roared in anger and gathered the last of his energy and to make his final struggle. Won't accept it. You were quite arrogant the last time you met me, Jian Wushuang sneered. He vaguely remembered that Dongming had mocked him a few months ago. Furthermore, Dongming was from the rival camp. Jian Wushuang would not show him mercy. Finally, Dongming's resistance broke down. Jian Wushuang's sword pierced his chest in a killing blow. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and retrieved Dongming's interspatial ring. He glanced at the treasures in it and broke out into a smile. Great, he has lots of treasures, even more than the 2 Stage 3 experts I killed earlier. There are even 2 blood gems. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up with pleasant surprise. In the interspatial ring, There were 2 blood gems and plenty of treasures and raw gems. More importantly, the ring contained Dongming's ID token. Another 1,000 battle achievements. Now I have 4,000 battle achievements. Jian Wushuang held Dongming's ID token in his hand and curled his lips. Before entering the inner area, he had adventured in the outer area with Sir Axe, Lei Dao, and the others, where he had killed a 10-member team on his own. Though they had just been Stage 2 experts and were worth only 100 battle achievements each, he had obtained 1,000 battle achievements in that fight. During the half a year in the inner area, he had fought many times and killed 2 Stage 3 experts using his realm technique. That earned him 2,000 battle achievements. By killing Dongming, he now owned 4,000 battle achievements. There was a manual in the treasure vault list that I couldn't afford. But now it seems that I've earned enough battle achievements to redeem it. Jian Wushuang laughed and left the inner area, heading for the campsite of Drifting Blood Marquis. He passed through the inner area and outer area in a hurry. His journey was uneventful and he did not encounter any challenges. A few days later, he arrived at the campsite of the Drifting Blood Marquis. It was bustling with activity, as it always did. Jian Wushuang entered the campsite treasure vault and glanced casually at the grey-clothed elder sitting there. Jian Wushuang perused the treasure list. A few moments later, he found the manual he sought. Triple Shift? A first-grade manual. Although first-grade manuals were rare and precious in the vast divine land, there were a few of them in Drifting Blood Marquis's treasure vault. However, most of them were incomplete. The only complete one was Triple Shift. Triple Shift was a body technique manual. It was much stronger than Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt, which Jian Wushuang had cultivated. My biggest advantage is the Blood River realm superimposed by Road to the Underworld and Tenfold Realm. Once the realm is released, I can choose to fight or escape a battle. However, experts who have excellent speed can easily escape from my realm. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. His Blood River realm was not invincible either. For example, Wind Demon, the first expert he had met in the inner area, had managed to flee from his Blood River realm. This was because he had been too quick, making it impossible for Jian Wushuang to kill him. At that time, Jian Wushuang had been impressed and envied Wind Demon's speed. If he wanted to elevate the use of his realm, he needed to move faster. Triple Shift would help him meet this requirement. Triple Shift had 3 levels, and its first level would enable him to travel 100 miles in a single breath. Being able to perform the astonishing feat of traveling 100 miles in a breath by studying this manual demonstrated its great worth. It was not easy to acquire a first-grade manual such as this. It would cost him 4,000 battle achievements. Chapter 4:18, The Bone King's Invitation. I want to exchange my points for the first manual of Triple Shift, Jian Wushuang said. The grey-clothed elder looked at Jian Wushuang and said, 4,000 battle achievements. Jian Wushuang took out a large number of enemies' tokens. The grey-clothed elder counted them and nodded. He made a record on his paper and said, wait at the campsite. In 3 days, we'll send it to you. Thanks, Jian Wushuang said before leaving. 3 days later, a man sent the first manual of Triple Shift to Jian Wushuang. He immediately started to meditate on it. Triple Shift, as a first-grade manual and an extraordinary one, was naturally enigmatic. It was different from Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt, which Jian Wushuang had once cultivated. The latter had certain origin comprehension requirements. At that time, Jian Wushuang had barely mastered it. Triple Shift did not require much of origin but demanded a strong body. Regardless of his depth of origin comprehension, an ordinary expert would not be qualified to cultivate this manual if his body failed to meet the requirements. This was the reason why Jian Wushuang valued the manual. After he became a venerable master, his biggest advantage compared with ordinary experts of the Saint Realm was his strong body. His body was as strong as a magic weapon and grew stronger the longer he stayed at this level. With the passing of time, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. It was obvious that his body met the requirements of practicing Triple Shift. What he needed to do now was to meditate on the manual and practice it. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang stood quietly on a hill near the campsite. Suddenly, he moved. Chuu. Like a flowing light, he flashed through the void. The movement was so fast it would have escaped the notice of ordinary warriors. Jian Wushuang's residual shadow slowly dissipated. Before it completely disappeared, Jian Wushuang returned and his form solidified. He traveled back and forth within a breath. In the space of a single breath, he had traveled 10 miles away and returned. Less than a breath. It's so fast. It's worthy of a first-grade manual. Jian Wushuang's eyes glinted. It was said that the first manual of triple shift would allow one to travel 100 miles in a breath. 100 miles sounded like an exaggeration, but it was close to that. If Jian Wushuang released the wrath of gale and thunderbolt and transformed his body to lightning, it would take him at least 4 or 5 breaths to travel 10 miles and return. With triple shift, it only took him 1 breath. My speed has soared thanks to triple shift. Now I'm nearly as fast as Wind Demon. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Wind Demon's speed was impressive and highly regarded by all in the inner area. Jian Wushuang acknowledged that he was still a little slower than Wind Demon under ordinary circumstances. However, if he superimposed the road to the underworld and tenfold realm to form the Blood River realm to suppress Wind Demon, the latter would definitely be slower than him. Jian Wushuang was sure that Wind Demon would not be able to escape in their next encounter. Jian Wushuang returned to the campsite. As he entered his tent, someone approached him. Mr. Swordsman. It was a black-robed old man, who was an ordinary expert at pinnacle of the Saint Realm level and had not entered Stage 2. What's up? Jian Wushuang glanced at the old man, a little surprised. Jian Wushuang had not been in Flaming Battlefield long and had been fighting alone. He knew some experts from the same camp but had no close friends in the inner area. Except for the experts of Iron Saber territory, he was not expecting any visitors. Mr. Swordsman, my master wants to meet you. I have come to invite you to his cave mansion, the old man said. Who is your master? Jian Wushuang asked. My master is Bone King, the old man laughed. Bone King? Jian Wushuang was curious. Flaming Battlefield was accessible only to experts. Countless top experts gathered in the inner area, including plenty of experts at the peak of Stage 3. Among them, there were some formidable beings. Those formidable beings, though also at the peak of Stage 3, could fight with experts of heaven-defying level. Each was regarded as an overlord in the inner area, and no one dared to provoke them. Average experts would flee if they met these overlords in the inner area. Xue Luo, who Jian Wushuang had once met in the inner area, was one of them. Xue Luo was much stronger than other experts at the peak of Stage 3 in terms of power and speed. Bone King was a super expert who was even stronger than Xue Luo, and he was notorious for killing. In terms of battle strength, Bone King was invincible as long as he did not encounter the 6 experts of heaven-defying level, who rarely appeared. I've never met Bone King before. Why does he want to talk to me? Jian Wushuang looked puzzled. Naturally, he would not refuse the invitation from a super expert. Where is your master now? Jian Wushuang asked. Please come with me. The black-robe old man led the way forward. The Bone King's magnificent cave mansion stood in an immense rift not far from the campsite. Jian Wushuang entered the cave mansion with the old man and soon saw Bone King. Ha ha! Swordsman. A barefoot middle-aged man in a loose robe smiled as he walked toward Jian Wushuang. Bone King. Jian Wushuang greeted him. A youth with a cold expression and sword-shaped eyebrows stood behind Bone King. Shui Yang. Jian Wushuang also greeted him. The young man nodded impassively. Shui Yang was also an extraordinary expert at the peak of Stage 3, though a little weaker than Bone King. Jian Wushuang had met Shui Yang in the inner area but had not fought him as they belonged to the same camp. Chapter 4:19. Occupation. I heard that a new expert named Swordsman had appeared in the inner area and his realm technique was amazing. Finally, I have the chance to meet you, Bone King said kindly. Thank you, Jian Wushuang responded humbly. May I ask why you invited me here? No hurry. Several other experts will come later. I'll tell you when all of you are gathered here, said Bone King. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. They sat down at a round table. Swordsman, you're very famous in the inner area for your realm technique. Would you please show it to me? Bone King asked casually. I would like to see it too, Xianxia said. Of course. Jian Wushuang nodded. He knew that Bone King wanted to test his strength. Bone King must have invited him for his realm technique. Be careful, Jian Wushuang cautioned and released his invisible sword realm. Oh. Bone King frowned slightly. That's all? Of course not. Jian Wushuang smiled. In the next moment, a blood river surged up with a roar and tumbled around him. The superposition of road to the underworld and tenfold realm produced a formidable oppressive effect. Bone King's eyes lit up as he felt the enormous power of the blood river. What a powerful realm. With it, our chances of accomplishing the task will improve by at least 20%. This realm is indeed strong. Xianxia nodded gravely as he looked at Jian Wushuang. Not long ago, I met Wu Ming from the opposite camp in the inner area. He had been weaker than me, but he had obtained a treasure which could release a realm. A treasure? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. His realm resulted from his sword skill, a secret skill. He had never chanced upon any treasure which could create a realm. It was a ring which contained a special formation. Once he used it, a realm was released. Because of that, he was able to compete with me. However, that realm was much weaker than yours, Xianxia said. Jian Wushuang was silent, but he continued to contemplate the new information. A ring which could release a realm and exert an influence on Xianxia was undoubtedly powerful. Jian Wushuang's realm was powerful, but it could be improved if he could get his hands on that ring and superimpose its realm with his. Soon, other experts arrived. They sat themselves at the round table. Besides Jian Wushuang and Xianxia, Bone King had invited 3 other experts. Among them, Jian Wushuang was a newcomer. The others had enjoyed fame for a long time and had reached the peak of stage 3. Xianxia. Zhu Hua. You must be swordsman? They greeted and talked to each other. Since they belonged to the same camp and were all top experts, it was natural for them to socialize with one another. Everyone, said Bone King, who sat at the head of the table. The experts quieted down and listened to him attentively. They had been invited by Bone King, but did not know his reason for doing so. I invited you to come here for a task, Bone King said in a magnificent voice. It was ordered by the high officials of Drifting Blood Marquis. The task is extraordinary and quite difficult, but it's also rewarding. If the task is completed, everyone will get at least 10,000 battle achievements, as well as other rewards. 10,000 battle achievements? Hearing that, their eyes lit up. 10,000 battle achievements was nothing to scoff at. They could only get 1,000 battle achievements by killing a Stage 3 expert. All Stage 3 experts who ventured into the inner area were confident of their battle strength. Experts who were weaker were equipped with skills that would help them survive, such as the Wind Demon with his amazing speed. Therefore, even though the experts present were at the peak of Stage 3, it was an uphill challenge for them to kill a Stage 3 expert in the inner area. The reward of 10,000 battle achievements was equal to killing 10 Stage 3 experts. This made the incentive for completing the task very attractive. A substantial reward also meant that this task would be complex. Bone King, tell us what this task is, a burly rough-looking man named Beast said impatiently. Many experts used aliases on the flaming battlefield. I'll be candid. Our task is to occupy a cave mansion controlled by the opposite camp. Bone King said in a low voice. Occupy a cave mansion? They gathered experts were surprised. On the flaming battlefield, there were 330 cave mansions, many of which were still hidden and had not been discovered, but more had fallen under the control of the 2 camps. Drifting Blood Marquis controlled 99 mansions in total. The number of cave mansions occupied by Pale Moon Marquis was not insignificant as well. These cave mansions were guarded by experts of the 2 camps, with more precious caves being guarded by stronger guards. But these guards were not top experts. This was as the cave mansions were equipped with formations. Even the lords of Cloud Realm level could not break the formations and occupy the cave mansions. As such, it was not necessary to dispatch top experts to guard them. Occupy a cave mansion? Bone King, are you kidding? Beast responded in a bear-like voice. All the cave mansions controlled by Pale Moon Marquis are protected by powerful and indestructible formations. Even a lord can't destroy it. How would we occupy it? The other experts quietly nodded their agreement. Chapter 420, Xianxia Cave Mansion. Don't worry. They wouldn't have assigned an impossible task. The power of the formation is extraordinary, but I have my methods to break it, Bone King laughed. Oh. The experts were surprised. The most indestructible part of the cave mansion is the formation. If it can be broken, those guards aren't a great threat. Thought Zhen Wushuang. Everyone, don't worry about the formation. I guess you'll have no problems dealing with the cave mansion guards. The most difficult part of this task is to guard it after we occupy it, Bone King said seriously, and then clapped his hands. A woman in a purple robe walked in immediately. Nice to meet you, I'm Lady Red. As an ordinary expert at the pinnacle of the Saint Realm, the lady was humble and respectful to Zhen Wushuang and the other experts. Lady Red was sent by high officials and has great attainment in formation. After we occupy the cave mansion, she'll set the formation. That will definitely take some time. While that's in progress, we can expect Pale Moon Marquis to send experts to attack us. We have to fight the experts of Pale Moon Marquis camp to buy time for her. Don't let anyone interfere with her. Once the formation is finished, the cave mansion will be controlled by Drifting Blood Marquis camp. We will then be able to use the formation to stop those experts, Bone King explained as he looked around. The experts understood what Bone King said. The cave mansions were the most coveted objects on the flaming battlefield. All cave mansions were valuable to the two camps. Pale Moon Marquis camp would dispatch experts immediately if they lost a mansion. What they had to do was to hold off the experts until Lady Red finished setting the formation. I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to stop those experts of Pale Moon Marquis, Beast said in a low voice. Indeed. That's why the reward is huge. The cave mansion is also an opportunity. It's up to you to seize it. I've specially invited Swordsman for this task. His realm will be of great help to us, Bone King laughed. Swordsman? Beast glanced at Zhen Wushuang. His eyes carried a trace of disdain and a hint of violence. All the experts present were at the top of Stage 3 and were famous in the inner area. Zhen Wushuang was merely a newcomer with ordinary battle strength, at about the high level of Stage 3. That was why Beast had not paid him any attention. He was not aware that the Zhen Wushuang had condensed the origin mark. Zhen Wushuang's battle strength had increased by several times and he had reached the peak of Stage 3. With the assistance of his realm, Zhen Wushuang was confident that if he had to fight Beast, it would end in a draw. Beast, don't underestimate Swordsman's realm. Shui Yang and I witnessed it just now. Even I was greatly oppressed by his realm and my strength dropped sharply. His realm will be of immense help for this task, Bone King said. I hope so, Beast curled his lips. Bone King, Zhen Wushuang suddenly said, our task is to occupy a cave mansion, but which one? The other experts turned to look at Bone King. Pale Moon Marquis controlled numerous cave mansions, including extremely valuable ones and ordinary ones which were nearly empty. They would naturally pay more attention to the valuable ones. Our target is Xianxia Cave Mansion, said Bone King. Xianxia. Zhen Wushuang and the other experts were surprised. Pale Moon Marquis camp controlled many cave mansions, including 3 Marquis cave mansions. The 3 Marquis cave mansions were the most valuable and their defenses were unassailable. Occupying those mansions would only be possible for experts of Lord level rather than Stage 3 experts of the Saint Realm like them. Xianxia Cave Mansion was not a Marquis cave mansion. However, it was very precious and just slightly less important than the 3 Marquis cave mansions. Xianxia Lord was a famous Cloud Realm expert who had died 1,000 years ago. In terms of strength, he was second only to a Marquis. The cave mansion he had left behind was extremely valuable. It had been discovered less than 10 years ago. That meant that it would still contain hidden treasures or opportunities, which would be of great help to any warrior. Its importance to Pale Moon Marquis was only second to the 3 Marquis cave mansions. Xianxia Cave Mansion, We're going to occupy the Xianxia cave mansion. The Pale Moon Marquis camp will be enraged if we occupy the Xianxia cave mansion. Xianxia cave mansion is not an ordinary lord's cave mansion. The experts were excited and broke into a discussion among themselves. Jian Wushuang sat at the table, his eyes slightly closed. Xianxia Lord had been an expert of sword principle. Therefore, there must be several opportunities for warriors of sword principle in his cave mansion. Xianxia cave mansion was quite attractive to him. Everyone, Bone King spoke again in a loud voice. That's all I have to say about the task. It's very difficult and dangerous, however. It's also rewarding. You'll have to weigh its risks against its benefits. Take it or leave it, it's up to you. The experts quieted down and considered their options. The rewards were tempting, but the task was also extremely dangerous. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm in, Shuiyang said. Since Shuiyang is going, I must go too. Life in the inner area is boring now. I need to find some excitement. Beast grinned. The remaining two experts hesitated, but nodded their assent after a moment. If you don't mind, I'll go with you and help you as much as possible, Jian Wushuang said. Ha ha, Swordsman, your realm technique is a powerful weapon for us, Bone King laughed. When should we start? Jian Wushuang asked. Now. A glimmer of anticipation shone in Bone King's eyes.